So fighting in anime is a concept and just a form of art that's always taken the anime community by storm. Whether you're a huge fan of anime and or you're just someone who knows of Dragon Ball and or maybe Naruto, I think a lot of people can agree fights in anime bring out the uttermost excitement and just paid off hype when watching two people either clash their fists or whatever weapon they wish to wield. But recently an anime just surfaced on the face of the internet as of yesterday, and it took me a while to realize it, but the manga of this specific series has been a manga that I would consider to be in the conversation for some of the best fights throughout manga history. The way it's choreographed and how most of the fights are shown are just a tier above else. Regardless of that though, the series I'm talking about is known as Record of Ragnarok. And as most of you probably already know, this has been an anime that has been hyped up for quite a while now, hence the reason because it has some of the best fights in all of manga. So of course, pretty much anybody who has ever even heard of this series would be super excited to see these fights come to life in the form of an anime. But now with the first season of the anime to come out, it's caused a bit of controversy pretty much all around. And if you want my simple take from it before I care to explain, I would suggest the majority of you read the manga, as most people would tell you, but there are some things about this anime that I do think I enjoyed, maybe some more than other people, but overall this anime adaptation simply does not live up to the hype from what was given to us in the manga. So overall, yes, I do think that this adaptation was a poor one, but like I said, there are some things that I did enjoy, and I will get into that in just a second. But before we get into that, if you are new to the channel and or if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to hit that sub button and turn on the bell notifications, that way you never miss out on another new video. And also drop a like and a comment on today's video if you're ready to hear what I think about the Record of Ragnarok anime. So I think the biggest problem that I would assume most of us can agree on is how poorly the fights were animated. For a series that is strictly about fighting, I think it's in their best interest to not skip around anything to do with the fights, because it's really what people read the manga for, unless it's maybe for the backstories, which I assume not. So doing that just kind of kills off the whole purpose of it. And I mean, the pacing was another thing as well. Like I said, for the series that's all about fights, when it comes to how things are presented, at the least I think it should be handled in a way where it just gives us more time throughout these fights, instead of just trying their best to speed run through it to the end. Because now that I think about it, by the end of the season they were already showing the start of the Jack the Ripper versus Hercules fight within a span of 12 episodes for a monthly running manga. They could have easily just given us the first two fights including their backstories and everything, and took their time with the animation of how everything looked, and it could have potentially been a lot more worth the time and effort people spent watching that, instead of what we received from these 12 episodes. And you know, it's just one of those things that was to be expected, honestly. I mean, prior to the anime even coming out, I saw a ton of red flags as soon as I saw that Netflix was taking this project over, and we've seen this happen with series like Baki and Kengan Ashura, which I've heard have pretty bad adaptations considering the artwork and choreography in their mangas. So if you ask me, I would say that I'm pretty bummed out considering the expectations that most of the fans went into it. But one thing I will say though is that this series, for it to be pretty much perfect like how the manga did it, would take an insane amount of money and probably years, which honestly wouldn't bother me so much. That's why I didn't have the hugest expectations, because I knew the anime was just coming out way sooner than it should have. However, I think the bad does immensely weigh out the good by a ton, but I will say there were some minor details and things that I did tend to enjoy from this adaptation. One being that I think they did choose some excellent voice actors for the specific roles and characters that I was decently happy with. Two, the soundtrack for the series was pretty decent fit to me, and I had no problem with it other than maybe the opening. And three, from what I took from the actual adaptation itself, was that both the close-up shots in the anime were pretty stunning, which the Record of Ragnarok manga tends to do a lot. And also, I thought that the backstories were pretty well handled considering the pacing for the anime was roughly quick. And to be honest, I did genuinely think that we're going to go down that Baki and Kengan Ashura route where they tend to usually heavily CGI the fights, but it was apparent that just wasn't the case, which surprised me. Instead, there were a ton of close-up shots with a lot of rapid background movement, which is honestly more of a give or take, but it just depends on how you view CGI. But regarding more so the fights itself, I think we've already seen the slideshow presentation that's been going around with the Adam versus Zeus fight. And for those of you who haven't already watched the entirety of that fight, that specific scene was merely just for that certain portion of the fight. But it is true, a majority of the action sequences are very clunky and it just looks like minimal effort was put into them. So I get why a ton of people, including myself, are a bit bummed over this entire thing. If you ask me though, about the rest of the fights, I think the Adam vs Zeus was by far the worst one. I did tend to enjoy a majority of the first fight between Thor and Lebu, which oddly enough is my least favorite fight in the manga. As for the Sasaki Kojiro versus Poseidon fight, I did feel pretty meh to watch for the majority. I definitely was losing interest because of the animation quality. However, I do think they did a fine job executing executing the backstories prior to the fight starting, as well as the still images that would tend to be flashing for a few seconds on the screen. All in all, this anime just isn't an adaptation I think most people would enjoy. I think it's an interesting viewing point to look at if you read the manga, but if you're a first time viewer of the series, I would definitely without a second thought point you towards the manga, because it is a well put together series that consists of mainly fights. I just hope by the time the second season rolls around, if it rolls around, they pick up the pace on the animation and just overall quality of the anime like they did with Baki towards the later seasons. Fingers crossed for that though, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see what the future has in store for us for the anime of Record of Ragnarok. But as always everyone, to those of you who made it to the end of the video, I hope y'all did enjoy the video. This has been a video I've been contemplating on making since yesterday morning since I watched the first episode. I just hope you all take the most important piece of information from this video and read the manga. But anyways, make sure before you click off the video to drop a comment on your thoughts on the video and let me know your overall thoughts on this season of Record of Ragnarok and let me know if it was good or not in your guys' opinion. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and join the Discord if you have not already. We got the Discord up and running again, so join the Discord in the link in the description box down below. And with that everyone, my Twitter is @AnimeAugie, and I'll make sure to catch each and every single one of you guys in the next video. Peace.